Welcome back to another episode of Trading Secrets. Today we are joined by reality TV personality and oldest daughter of Teresa and Joe Giudice from Bravo's Real Housewives of New Jersey, Gia Giudice. Gia has spent the majority of her life growing up in front of the camera, having debuted on the hit reality show when she was just 8 years old. Having gone through some major life experiences in front of millions, she's been able to keep a steady mind for her family and her personal and professional growth. We are going to discuss all things of what life was like growing up in the public eye, how she strives to inspire young women in her generation, her entrepreneurial endeavors, and more. Gia, thank you so much for being on Trading Secrets.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
Yeah, what's crazy is I'm looking at like these numbers, and we just had Howie Mandel on recently, right? And he's been in the entertainment business for 47 years, and
Yeah.
you hear that and you're blown away.
Yeah.
And I look at your numbers. You've been in the entertainment business
Mm.
for 15 years and you're 23.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a wild phenomenon when you think about that. At 23 years old, being in front of the spotlight, being in front of the camera, what does that feel like to you after 15 years of experience? And ideally, where do you go from here with it?
Honestly, it is really crazy to think about, but at the same time, it was kind of all I knew. Because growing up, you obviously have your childhood memories when you remember when you were little, but they're vague. But once you start to get older, you remember things more and more. So at 8 and on, I remembered everything. And it's kind of how I grew up. But as a little kid, I also always wanted to be a movie star. So my mom was bringing me to auditions in New York because I was like her little puppet. She brought me everywhere. So we were constantly in the city doing auditions. I did a bunch of photo shoots. I walked in New York Fashion Week when I was a little girl. So it was always kind of in me that I wanted to do that. And then now growing up on it, it kind of just became a part of my life. And there were times where I didn't know if I wanted to be in it or not.
Yeah.
But then I kind of came to the realization of why not?
Yeah,
Why wouldn't I take this amazing opportunity and kind of run with it?
for sure.
And I mean, it's been great for the most part.
That's pretty cool. When you think about what could be next, I know we've heard you talk about law school and taking your LSATs. And then as you're explaining, as a kid, you were doing auditions and stuff. I have to assume there's been this probably back and forth balance between like academia, like a school, like going to school and like going to get your LSAT, going to become an attorney, and then pursuing everything else that falls under this space. How, like, go back all the way to like 8 to 10. What was like the school dynamic like then? And then what does it look like moving forward with potentially pursuing an LSAT and going to law school?
Yeah. So school was always super important in my family. It was like no C's in this family, A's and B's only. It was like very important. You get
Yeah.
home from school, you eat, you do your homework. So it's still that way. My sisters and I are all academically on board and take it very seriously. So I
Yeah.
feel like no matter what, even though I've been in the public eye for so long, I never questioned going to college. I never
Uh-huh.
questioned not getting my degree. And right now, I would say it was probably when I hit middle school, because
Yeah.
that was when my family's legal issues happened.
Okay.
So ever since middle school, I kind of always had that vision to become a lawyer.
Yeah.
It was something I always wanted to do.
Was it sparked from some of those things that happened?
Yeah, for sure.
Interesting. That's fascinating.
Because I always felt like of course, you're a child, like watching this happen to your family.
Hmm.
You're like, why us? Why
Yeah.
me?
Yeah.
And so dealing with that, it always made me want to make a change and make things different and
Yeah.
just make things better. And honestly, the whole experience going through the entire thing, it made me want to still make things better, but then it almost like made me feel defeated in a way.
Yeah.
Because it was like sometimes it doesn't always go the right way for people. And then
Totally.
it's like you deal with the hardship of families, and it
Hmm.
does come with like a lot of stress.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I did still go into Rutgers University as a criminal justice major. I finished my bachelor's degree with a
Mhm.
criminal justice major and a sociology minor. While being in college, I worked at the public defender's office of Middlesex County. And then I also worked for an immigration law firm.
Yeah,
So that like was really close to home, because of what I went through with my family.
totally.
Then following graduating, I also worked for RIMAX, which is like a big marketing company, which also had lawyers involved. So I shadowed the lawyers and dealt with all of that.
Yeah.
So I did have a lot of experience with that. And as I was doing all of that, my influencer career also just skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, I was like on an uneasy scale at this point because I was like, I could keep going with what I always said I was going to do, or I could pause for a second and really ride this out and take this to my advantage to like the best I can and see where it goes. Because ultimately, like law school will always be there, but maybe this won't.
100%. It's one of the biggest issues I think people your age are having that are seeing maybe newfound fame or new opportunity, or they're becoming an expert in something where people around the world are following them. The money and the economics behind that is so outweighing what the return can be for going to Rutgers, then becoming an attorney, and then working full time 100 hours in the city.
Yeah.
So it's this interesting decision making that these young 20-year-olds are having to face. We're going to come back to that
Okay.
because you mentioned being in middle school, how this career inspired you, but also it was a lot to deal with. I think about the path you're on. You're this independent boss that's killing it. You have your boyfriend, like things are moving in the right direction. I don't want to make any assumptions, but for the sake of this question, let's just assume things work out with you and your boyfriend. You have a kid, you're doing your thing, and you have a middle schooler that has to receive a message similar to what you had to receive, what would you do differently knowing the message that you had to receive at the time you did with all those moving parts, and how you even just kind of insinuated that was a big challenge, like dealing and hearing those things at such a young age?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing, honestly, my parents also did a great job with kind of keeping us on the right path.
Yeah.
No matter what, I feel like I would even tell my own child if this ever happened, like, just stay true to yourself.
Yeah.
Know who your family is. Don't listen to the outside noise. Like, don't look at the outside noise because you know who your family is.
Yeah.
Like, this is just believe what you see every day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what pushed my sisters and I through the entire thing, cuz we knew and we know my family, my parents, they weren't bad people.
Yeah.
They didn't mean, well, they didn't hurt anybody, but they didn't mean for this entire thing to blow up in my family's face. And at the same time, I felt like the whole time my sisters and I were in protection mode. We wanted to protect our family no matter what, because that's how we grew up.
Hmm.
Family first, always stick with your family.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that I would explain to like my child. I would also show her like him or her immense amount of love, and that's what my parents did throughout the entire thing.
Yeah. One question I have for you is, so on this podcast, we talk about finances often,
Hmm.
right? And I had Savannah Chrisley on, and I never want to compare situations, but it was
Oh,
really interesting the lesson that she had learned because both of her parents are now serving time for some type of financial fraud
yeah,
that she believes was completely unwarranted. And so, what I said from that is, given what you saw and that you are so strongly believing how unjust it is, let's forget about kind of the drama from it, but what are the financial lessons like that you learned from this? And she talked a lot about like specifics in contracts, and having different professionals always looking over certain things.
I
Seeing
completely
this at
agree
a
with
young
her.
right like seeing
Yeah.
this at a young age when we talk about financial transparency and people being taken advantage of, or not like knowing exactly what you're signing, what are some financial lessons at a young age you learned given what some of the
Yeah.
things you saw?
Well, not knowing what you signed,
Yeah,
that was kind of
that's
in my mother's
of
favor.
course, yeah,
So she, imagine your husband telling you, oh, just, sign this. You trust them.
yeah,
And of course, my father didn't deliberately say,
sh
Teresa, sign this because you're going to
sure,
go to jail. Like, of
right,
course not. But, she didn't have someone read it over
Mhm.
with her. She didn't understand what she was signing, nor did she really know.
Right.
So a lesson for me with my whole situation is, of course, I'm having 10 lawyers review it. I'm not signing
You're like,
it
"My lawyer expenses
until,
are up,"
yes,
you
until
know?
I know exactly what I'm signing. I am filing my taxes. I am dotting every T, crossing every I. Like, I will never, not that I know my family didn't mean to, but I will
Mhm.
never put my family in that situation
Yeah.
ever.
Interesting. Another thing I think that's kind of cool is you saw this at 8 years old, 10 years old, 15, 20s, now 23. So you can give such good perspective of what you've been through and like where you're going. I know there's a lot of rumblings, at least if you look on Twitter and other places. Andy Cohen's a big fan of yours. He's made kind of like small innuendos, or at least some of the fans have, that you could be like the first next real housewife that
Yeah.
was, the daughter of a real housewife.
Yeah.
Suppose that happens, just for the sake of conversation,
Of
and we're
course.
putting our business hats on,
Mhm.
and then you have a child that they want to bring onto the show. Is there anything you would do differently when it relates to like having your child on the show, being a child that was part of the show? And it could be anything from like negotiation, compensation. Would you just copy and paste what you did because it was perfect? When you put the business hat on, what would that look like from Gia's perspective?
I personally think that I would handle more of the battles if they involved my children. Because as much as I loved having a voice
Yeah.
and love having a voice on the Real Housewives of New Jersey,
Mhm.
I also get a lot of backlash for it. In a Obviously, from there's both sides. There's like the people who love my mother and support my mother, and then there's obviously like the other side, like anything.
Yeah.
Same with me, the people who love me, the people who hate me. And I necessarily don't let those comments affect me, but a lot of the situations were people talking about me, were adults talking about me, which is just very uncomfortable to begin
Sure.
with. And as much as I would want my child to have a voice,
Mhm.
I would rather her talk about it with me rather than like saying it in front of or saying it to the adults,
Got it.
because then that's where it gets a little messy, where the fans are like, she's not a housewife and she should not be involved in this drama,
Yeah.
which it's not like I'm trying to be. Trust me, I want
Yeah.
to be far away from all of this crazy. But it's also weird that you guys are bringing me up constantly and,
Mm,
and bringing me into conversations when I'm not your child. So why are you talking about me? So it's
interesting.
a very like hard, it's a hard thing to balance, because it's like people are talking about you, but people also view you as Teresa's child.
Right.
Even though I am an adult now, the viewers, because they saw me from such a young age, they
Mhm.
don't see me that way.
Totally.
They see me as, why are you getting involved? I think that's the only difficult aspect of it.
Okay, so that's one thing you would have done a little bit different, but I also think you're segueing into something that's even a larger, like macro issue in the
Yeah.
entire world that a lot of people are probably dealing with is the Gen Z generation and the working components with millennials, Gen X, and boomers is something like we've never seen. So these people are seeing you in the lens of like, we saw Gia as a kid, and now here's Gia being like a badass, stepping
Yeah.
into all of them. But millennials and boomers and Gen X, they're having tough times dealing with Gen Zs as it relates to working in the corporate environment, in family negotiations, in finances, all the things. What do you think? And there's probably, I would say the biggest watching population of Real Housewives is probably boomers and Gen X, right? It's probably older. So, what
For
do you
sure.
think is the biggest misconception of that generation with Gen Zs? And like, what are some things that the older generations should start to like really think through twice before making these judgments?
I think they Listen, I think they really judge the respect aspect,
Yeah.
which no matter what, I'm old school as well. I believe like respect your elders no matter what. But they, I think, are very surprised by the way the younger generation speaks up now.
Totally.
And I think that's what like makes the floor rumble. And I think that's what like makes them say and criticize a lot of us, because they are honestly shocked that a lot of us now do have such a voice.
Mhm.
But I think that over the years, that's what has accumulated our generation to speak up, say what you believe, and not let others judge. So I think with that, and then the whole social media aspect taking over, I think the older generations also don't understand the social media aspect of
They
it
don't have a
either.
clue about it.
They
No.
don't understand
Yeah.
how we're making money. They don't
Yeah.
understand how we're succeeding. They think it's almost like a bullshit job
Oh, totally.
when it's it's not.
Yeah.
People are making more on social media than they could a 9 to 5. So, I think they don't appreciate that, and then I think they don't appreciate us speaking up either. So
Yeah.
that kinda went back to what I was saying, that controversy.
There are those 2 components that also relate to the professional endeavors, right? Because I think traditionalists think of it's very linear, like you have to go this way, and then I could figure out what you're making and how you're making it. And so as a result of that, when people step into social media and they'll see a big dollar amount, the first thing they'll say is, "Well, it won't last." Well, here it is. It's still lasting. It's still here. There's a huge shift. We're seeing it in everything. We were even talking about different real estate shows out there and how they're teaching the younger real estate agents like
Promote
the
it on social media.
promote on social media, and the game has changed. You might meet a 24-year-old who's a multimillionaire
Yeah,
from posting shit online. Don't judge a book by its cover. I
literally.
want to talk about compensation for you. Like when you were, I don't know what you can and can't share, but from 18 years old up until this season, you're on TV. Have you been able to stack some good money away from like all this working experience? And has that financially changed your life? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I definitely have been able to, and I'm very grateful for that. Like, I just recently leased myself a Porsche. So
Let's
that was like a
go.
big, big girl purchase for me. And I am completely on my own in the way of, besides my living situation, I still do live home with my family. But financially, I do cover everything myself.
Mm.
Really I don't really get money from my parents anymore. It's kind of, I'm completely on my own. And that was always the deal. Like my mom was like, once you graduate college, then your next car is on you. So that's why I really didn't have a car for a little bit because my sister was at the University of Michigan. So
Okay.
I was able to use her car
Love it.
until for this year until she got home. Then she got home and it was May and I was like, okay, I need to get myself a car.
Yep.
So I wanted to save all these months because my dream car has always been a Porsche. So
Mhm.
I was like, this is what I want to do. And I was able to do that. That was like one of the biggest accomplishments that I was able to get myself a car. And I was like, felt like I was signing my life away with all the dealership papers. I was like,
Yeah.
this is crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, financially, yeah, I really am on my own. And I think that's a big, also a big misconception.
What's that?
People don't think I'm on my own.
Interesting. What did they
People
think?
think I live off of
Mom and
mommy and
dad's
daddy's
mom's
money.
credit cards
Yeah.
or something. Interesting. All right. Well, you just broke that misconception.
Yeah.
All right. So a Porsche being your first notable big thing you're excited about. Those cars range what, like 80 to 120-ish? Am
Hmm.
I somewhere right there?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's done. Congratulations. What's the next thing? Is it like you want to make $1 million a year? Do you want to buy your first condo in New York City by 25 or 30? Do you want to be Forbes 30 under 30? Like, what's your next like thing when it comes to career and money that like is on your radar?
Yeah. So the next thing for sure is I want to start investing into properties.
Cool.
And that was how my dad started, actually. So he's very familiar with the business, with how it works. And so my next thing, it should be happening very soon, but I want to start investing into properties and just kind of having my dad walk me through the whole thing.
Sweet.
My next step is to buy a two-family home
Hmm.
and obviously take out a mortgage and start it from there. But that's what I want to do. I want to
Cool.
just start owning properties all around New Jersey.
I love it. When you have that real estate empire, you're going to come back on and tell us all about it.
Yes, I
I want to talk a little bit about everyone's heard you talk about it. We've seen it on all the shows. The big song, Waking Up in the Morning, trended on TikTok. It's popped off. It's gone viral. I think it's awesome. I know a lot of people are talking about it. I'm more interested in the business aspect of it. When a song like that pops off TikTok, business wise, finance wise, cash in the pocket, what does it do for you? Like, what can you do with that?
So at first, I was mortified when the song
You're
came
like, oh
out.
shit.
I literally was like, "How the hell did this
Yeah.
resurface?"
Yeah.
But it did, and literally everyone caught wind of it. It was
It
nuts.
was
It was like
crazy.
Cardi B, Will Smith, Lil Nas, Nicki Minaj, like anyone you could think of was like listening to this song. And I don't even know if they knew it was me, but it was just this little kid crying, like singing a song. But right from there, I kind of I let it ride out for like I would say 2 weeks. And then
Mhm.
I was like, I need to do something about this.
Yeah.
So there was a local boutique in Jersey called Hazel Boutique, and very good friends with them. I was kind of just sitting in the back with all of them. And the owner, Kim, I was talking to her and I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to make sweatshirts
Cool.
with waking up in the morning. And Kim was like, wait, I'll totally help you out. Like, cause they had they're really the Hazels and like known for their sweatshirts. You see
Yeah.
kids all around Jersey with Hazel sweatshirts
Mhm.
on. And I was like, oh, this would be amazing. So they helped me with like the manufacturing and like the printing of the waking up in the morning and posted them on their website.
Okay.
And it went crazy.
So
Like,
you sold a ton of those shirts?
oh, a ton.
Okay, talk to me about business aspect.
Yeah.
How would you get like we just had Sophia Franklin on talking about how at Barstool she got like 2.5% of every merch sold. Like how'd you work
Yeah.
that
So
arrangement?
Hazel got 30%
Okay.
and I got 70%
That's
of the
pretty good.
sales.
Of
Yeah.
all the deal, like that's
Yeah.
pretty good.
I also just did a lot of I like love them to
Marketing,
death,
yeah.
but I did a lot. Every time I wore their clothing and still every time I wear their clothing, I post for them.
Okay, cool.
It's very like one hand washes the other type thing.
Got it.
So they knew because my song was going to bring in so much revenue and so much business that also when they're looking at the waking up in the morning sweatshirts on their website, they're also going to browse the rest of the website too to see if they like
Exactly.
anything
They'll
from their
go buy
clothing
other
store.
stuff too.
Yeah.
So when you say a lot, you sell like a couple 100,000? Like how many units are you pushing here? If you had to guess, you don't have to like
I mean, I would say definitely, I would say a couple thousand.
damn,
Like definitely,
that's a
I would say
lot.
I would say probably over 5,000.
Dang, that's a lot of
I'm trying
sweaters.
to like think
Yeah,
of the
trying to think.
revenue
All
a
right.
little bit, so I
We
feel
won't
like
hold you to exactly it, but just the
yeah,
idea, like
it went
it did really
it was
well.
nuts. I was like, wow. And I would see people at the Jersey Shore wearing them.
Yeah.
My cousins would send me photos of their friends wearing them like at college. I was like, this is crazy. It was super fun.
Do you have to like copyright and like license or label a song like that?
I think I did patent it.
Okay.
Yeah, I did
Crazy.
patent it.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Okay. So, a musician, a reality TV star, possibly a lawyer. Another career endeavor for you, of course, is social media,
Yeah.
right? So, you're doing really well on social media. We already talked a little bit about the influencing space on Instagram, 933,000 followers last time I checked. TikTok, over 600,000. So, obviously, 1.5 plus at 23. Talk to me about the business of Instagram and TikTok. Like, are you making money off the creator fund? Are you doing a lot of brand deals?
Yeah,
What does it look
I
like?
think it's a mix of both.
Yeah.
And it's really crazy how if you only have over 10,000 followers on TikTok, you can make money off your views.
Yeah.
So that is amazing. And that's also just kind of, something that you can cushion on and just sit on. And that's your money that just comes in. If you post videos and you keep up with it, if your videos are over a minute long, TikTok pays you
Yep.
no matter what it is, even if it's $3, but it accumulates and you
Yeah.
keep going and you keep pushing. That's why I tell anybody, I'm like, if you enjoy content creation and
Mhm.
you enjoy making content, do it because you can get 10,000 followers in no time, especially on TikTok. I feel like you can rise so easily, and the way you can make money on these apps is also amazing. Same with Instagram. You can make money just off of posting a carousel of pictures.
Sure.
Obviously your reels gain you more, but you can make money even just off carousels.
Yeah.
So the apps itself are also great with the payout.
Yeah.
And then I really am enjoying making insane relationships with brands.
Yeah.
That's been something really fun. It's just been interesting because it's brands that I've loved since I was a little kid. And the fact that I'm working with them now is just so surreal, like for me.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy the most. And that's what makes me excited to go to work and keep going because it's something that's fun and work is fun. And
Yeah.
that's what I enjoy doing this with you. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's just as of right now, doing this in my 20s, I feel like I enjoy this so much more rather than working a 9 to 5.
Yeah, when you look at the business of, because you're filming a lot, right? Especially this past season, there's a lot going on.
Yeah,
And then the business of social media and the dollars. Which one pays more, reality TV or social media?
social media.
But like that was a quick snap. Like you didn't even think about that.
No.
Okay, significantly more then.
In a year for sure.
Okay. Your peers, like your 23-year-old friends and 22 and 24-year-old friends, my understanding is becoming a content creator right now is one of the most desired jobs for the younger generation, the Gen
Yeah.
Alphas, right? So, like, are you looked upon within your friend group as like you're the star, you're living the dream, like there's nothing more we want? Do your friends ask you? Like, I'm trying to get in the mind of what 22, 23-year-olds are thinking about their career. Like, do they all want to pursue what you're doing and how you're doing it? What is that like?
Honestly, I think like yeah, sure. Do my friends wish they could be in my position sometimes and not go to their 9 to 5 in the
Yeah.
city all day? I'm sure. But I think at the same time, they don't feel like they could.
Okay.
I think that's also the misconception a little bit. People don't think that they can do it and
Yeah.
that they can build to that. But they also are just like so proud of me. I think that's the best thing too. I have such support from my friends to keep going and to keep doing what I'm doing, and the brand deals that I get, they get so excited for me, and it's a very supporting, loving group.
Yeah.
But I think that's also why a lot of people don't really pursue it,
Okay.
because I know people that are trying, that I see them post religiously every single day, but it just takes one video to really pick up and
It's
maybe
true.
people will notice you. But of course, doing that in the beginning, sometimes people might feel awkward. It's like you're talking to a camera and no one's really recognizing you and you're only getting 30 to 40 likes on your TikToks, and it could get a little discouraging, but it only takes that one time to maybe like really get you the recognition that you're looking for.
I love it. Now I want to pull you into the friends that might have some connection to other fame, or they're creating their own fame in like the fashion world. They've picked up their social media in a big way. So like peers of yours in the 22, 23
Mhm.
range. In New York City, it's competitive. There's a lot now of content creators here, and there's people at young ages doing big things. How do you connect with them? Do you try and collab with them? Do you find that the 22, 23-year-olds that are starting to crush it in this space are very independent and don't want anybody to like kind of connect with them? Is it competitive? Talk to me about what that looks like. The young up and coming hot shots of New York City. What's it look like?
I think it definitely is a little competitive.
Okay.
As much as you are supporting each other and supporting everything that you're doing or that they're doing, I think it's definitely competitive in the way of people want that to be them. People want to accomplish those things. And I think, as time goes on, sure, we could collaborate. We could do something cool if a brand wants both of us.
Hmm.
But in a way, I think it's kind of every man for themselves at this point. Because it's like when the brand is asking for someone, they
Yeah.
want you.
Yeah.
They're not asking for another person unless they make that recommendation. Oh, I want this one and that one.
Okay.
But I think it is a really competitive field because obviously everyone wants that spot. Everyone
Yeah.
wants that brand deal with that brand. Everyone wants to be those girls on that brand trip.
Yes.
So I think as much as it is like we're having so much fun together, we love each other, it is, I want that spot as well.
Interesting. So when I was like, I think at 22, 23, especially in finance, it was like, what bank you're working for, what's your title, where are you getting your MBA, what's your trajectory? That was a form of social currency. Or what business do you own, or what business do you want to own? I feel like social currency has changed. And I feel like, and it's assumption, that's why I want to ask you, it's big on what's your follower count and how, like, I don't know if there's financial transparency, how much are you making? Am I right or wrong in saying that? Like, do you and your friends or peers or competitors, do you stack each other up based on like the follower account or your social media exposure? Like, how's that work?
I don't think necessarily within the friends,
Okay.
but I did hear I didn't go to Coachella this year, but I was there last year. But this year, I heard at one party, they literally had 2 lines
Yeah,
where
I
if
saw
you
that.
have less than 1 million followers,
Yeah,
you are in this line, and if you have over 1 million followers, you're in this line.
interesting.
So I think it's more so of the social status on where you can go depends on your social media following,
Huh.
like events and parties and pop-up shops that big celebrities are holding or big name brands. It definitely depends on your following count.
What's your opinion on that? Do you think that's ridiculous? Do you think that kind of makes sense a little bit for those businesses? Like, what's your take on that business divergence of your following?
It's obviously a little controversial,
Yeah,
but I think obviously looking at it as a business standpoint, obviously the companies want the people with the most followers because in their head they're going to think that these people are going to give them the most exposure on what they're trying to sell or the new product that they came out with.
yeah,
So in that aspect, in the business aspect, it does make sense
okay,
in my opinion cuz
yeah,
the people are going to show you or show their viewers the most amount of people your product
yeah,
rather than somebody who has 130,000 followers on Instagram. It's really not getting that much traction.
yeah. I
But
get that.
I mean, then there's also people that the brand that I see brands do invite influencers with lower following because they do want to show that diversity that they are including like a
Sure.
wide range. So I think it really can vary,
Yeah,
but I think the high name brands definitely do look at the following count.
yeah. Do you think like my curiosity is kind of going wild here, and I don't know if you still have friends or maybe siblings you do
Yeah.
in high school. Is popularity based on social media following now? Like it used to be like, if you're the captain of the team or you're
Yeah,
just a
yeah.
cool guy or whatever it is or girl, like that was what determined the hierarchy in high school. I didn't have social media in high school. Is it like that now? Like, is there
I
any?
mean, my one sister just graduated high school. My other
Yeah,
sister's going into her sophomore year. If anything, I think it creates a lot of jealousy. I think a lot of these kids now are jealous and they're like mean girls. So I think if they are jealous of what you have, I think it honestly causes a lot of tension in high school.
so being someone who's followed by the masses could actually work against you as it relates to social connection in high school.
I think so.
Interesting.
Because it's all social media is also so big for high school. That's all these kids do. My sister Adriana makes like 20 TikToks a day of just like her singing a song. Like
Does she make
she
money off social media?
well, no,
So it's just fun
she's
for her.
14. It's just fun for her.
Yeah.
And she doesn't even post them publicly. She posts them privately.
Okay, got it.
But my
Interesting.
sister Adriana literally just loves TikTok. They love Snapchat. And that is their that's what they do. That's how they
Mhm,
communicate. Like it blows my mind that my sister Adriana texts with people on Snapchat.
mhm.
They barely even use text message anymore. I'm like,
Yeah,
how do you guys? I'm
crazy.
like, that's nuts. I'm like, if you want to look back at a text, like it goes away, and they go, no, 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 you save it on Snapchat.
Huh.
And I was like, it's so interesting to me too. But my sister Melania, same thing. She makes so many TikToks now that she's 18. She can make money off of TikTok
Yeah,
based on views, and she has the
sure.
following count to do it. She would make TikToks in the middle of her high school. And I don't know, did that piss girls off? Probably.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, some people always want what they can't have, and then it causes jealousy and tension.
Now, opposite from your sisters in high school, you go to the Real Housewives. You have major following more than most of the Real Housewives, right? So are they coming to you at all saying like, how are you doing what you're doing? Or are they coming you with envy, knowing you're probably making more money off your social media than they have, and they are the Real Housewives, have been on the show for years? Is that a thing?
I mean, I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it is, and I don't know about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I never thought about that.
Isn't
That
that
is kind of
wild? That
crazy.
you're I would guess 90% of Real Housewives, you make more off social media than them. But they don't come to you asking like, "Hey, how any tips or tricks or anything like that?"
My mom's best friend Jen Aiden did,
Yeah, okay.
but we're so close with her,
Yeah,
and she's a sweetheart. But I
okay,
set up like her Amazon storefront for her. I set
okay.
up her LTK for her,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
she's killing it.
Yeah,
So I'm like, good for you. Like, and I'm so happy I could have helped her with that. But other than Jen, No one else really. I feel like they like feel weird. I don't know.
I love it. Stay
But
tuned to the
yeah.
recap. We'll talk about how people make money off their Amazon storefront and the LTK. We'll get into that. Before we get into that, reality TV, any other shows that have possibly approached you? Like there's a bunch of shows out there, there's challenge shows, there's a million reality TV shows. Have you been approached to do anything kind of special or cool?
Yeah. I was approached to do Love Island a couple
No
times.
way,
Yeah.
really?
This is when I was in
Love Island
college.
USA or no? Because that one
Yeah.
is like popping off
Yeah.
this season.
Love Island USA.
Did you consider it?
No.
What?
I had a boyfriend.
Oh,
I
no,
have my
that's right, that's right,
boyfriend.
that's right,
I was like, I
okay.
really don't think he would
Yeah,
be
no, yeah, I
a
don't think
fan.
and if yeah, I think if you went on with a boyfriend, that'd be
Yeah.
a lot of tough
It
work
was
for your brand.
yeah, it was
Have you been
so
approached on any of these challenge shows? Because 'Cause we're seeing some Real Housewives go on, like, Traders and stuff like
and
that.
House of Villains.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I haven't been approached for any of the challenge shows yet.
Is that something you'd wanna do?
I would do a challenge show
Okay.
for sure.
Challenge show possibly in your
Yeah.
future. Alright, career-wise, you look down the road, paint the picture. What's it gonna be like for you? You got the crystal ball in front of you. What are you doing? What are you making? What does it look like?
I would love to be a millionaire one day, of
Okay.
course.
Love.
I want to invest in a lot of real estate because at the end of the day, I want to just have that commission flowing in
Yep.
and then I could pass that down to my children.
Yep.
Um, I would love to still be in the influencer reality world. I would love to keep building my fame. And I do want to pull a Kim K and be a lawyer one day while doing all of this. That
That's
girl
a
juggles like literally juggles the world. But I also want to create my own brand for myself. So I do want to come out with something that really resonates with me and shows who I am.
if you could I think it's so cool all the different areas that you wanna go with your career. I have no doubt you'll get there with the brand. If you had to predict one area, do you think it's gonna be fashion, beauty? What do you think it's gonna be? If you thought what about your product, what do you think it'll be?
Fashion and beauty, because
Okay.
that's also what my content is now. It's a lot of clothing. I have a lot of brand deals with a lot of clothing brands. And I also get invited to a lot of makeup events. So
Okay.
I feel like I am really focused on fashion and beauty, and I would love to do that as
Sounds
well.
like you'd have to be in the city here soon. You think you might make a move?
I do. I don't
Okay.
know if it's physically gonna be in New York City
Okay.
because sometimes I just like I can't with the traffic and everything.
Yeah.
But I think I would make the move to like Jersey City or Hoboken.
Okay.
Jersey City's so up and coming right now. I would
Yeah,
love
it's
to like
popping.
invest in a place there and
Okay.
just like pay it off over time. So I would love to do that within the next year. That's definitely something that I'm looking into.
Then the last thing I got for you is crystal balls in front of you. Yes or no? You think you're gonna be a real housewife?
Yeah.
Wow, let's go. You have a laundry list of things to check off your professional list. It sounds like you're already doing it. You're absolutely killing it, which is exciting. I can't wait to have you back on when you do all these things. But we do have to end with a trading secret. So you hear a lot from professors, you hear from experts on TikTok, but not everyone gets to hear from Gia, given your experience from 8 years old to today, 23. What is a trading secret that you could give our listeners as it relates to financial advice, career advice, personal or professional advice, any of the above? One trading secret with Gia, what would it be?
Don't listen to the outside noise
Mm,
and do what makes you happy.
okay, I like that. I do want to drill down though.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that you've been able to do it, and you've been
Yeah.
able to do it since middle school. So you've proven you do it. But some people have a tough time actually doing it. So if the noise is coming in and they're feeling it right now, they're listening to this. Like I got noise from my mom, my dad, haters, da 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 da. What do you do? How do you just ignore it? What's the strategy? What's a tip?
I feel like just do it and prove them wrong.
I got you.
I feel
Okay.
like proving that like doing that action and putting that step forward.
Yeah,
And because it's typically the outside noise is that they're either jealous or they don't believe that you could do it.
100%.
So if you show that you can do it and prove them wrong, they have nothing to say.
Yeah, and it's a lot of those people, like some of the people that are watching you that might be like, she's a kid, she doesn't know what she's doing. They actually have their own internal issues that they're putting that onto you. And
Of
so what you're
course.
saying is take your shit, keep it, don't slime me with it, just keep moving forward, prove them wrong. That is a hell of a trading secret. Gia, where can everyone find everything you have going on social media and all the things, Gia? Where can they find you?
You guys can find me on my Instagram _Gia Giudice and on TikTok Gia Giudice XX.
And possibly a project of some sort. I mean, there's some cameras in the background. Something's happening here. I mean, could you tease anything for
Yes,
us?
I am working on a very big project right now,
Okay.
and you guys are going to have to see.
All right. Well, I'm excited to see. All I know is you have more cameras in this room than we have set up for the podcast. So, for the people back home, there's a lot of action happening. Gia's trajectory is to the moon. And thank you so much for being on this episode of Trading Secrets.
Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome.